Alrighty, Ani Bonjour. It's good to be recording a video for you again. One of the last couple of videos, actually. And this one is a combination, really, of the last couple of readings and this week's reading, which is Worldview as Philosophy, our worldview perspective as Anishinaabe people. And there's a reason for that. That's because it's actually very much connected to the reading that was shared on dreams and prophecy, rethinking revitalization, dreams, prophets, and routinized cultural evolution a reading ago, and then Shkiktagan, the people of the seventh fire, which I believe we are, and then wrapping into this week's reading. I've actually asked Michaela again to make another recording as a young person in today's world and how she has come to understand what Mino bimaadiziwin means, the way of a good life, the good life. Because I really believe that they're all wrapped up in, the dreams and visions of who we are as Anishinaabe people, along with the stories, the prophecies that tell about Anishinaabe people, and this worldview perspective that we're trying to share with you in this course, all very much connected to what we call Mino bimaadiziwin, the good life. So want to thank you for all the marvelous contributions in your reflections. I will tell you, I learned a lot about who you are just by reading about your stories, about where you come from, the families you come from, the stories of your family. Many of you talk about your grandparents. Many of you talk about extended family, aunties and uncles, and then also too paying honor and tribute to your parents, the ones that raised you. Listening to the stories of Michaela and how those brought about memories of your own experience with rites of passage as you move into young adulthood, or as you move into adulthood. So I have to tell you, I am very thankful for all of the reading that I did, and it was lots of reading. I will definitely tell you that. Along with the conversations in the discussion board around language. I am so happy to report to all of you, to share with all of you. There are so many of you who have another language that is your first language. Because of where you come from, you speak that as your first language, and that's a beautiful thing. I also have to acknowledge those of you who shared that you have English as your first language. One of the things that I know I've heard many times is that English is the hardest language to conquer of all, in terms of knowledge retention, understanding it, being able to speak it and use it in a correct way. So everybody who contributed and talked about the power and the knowledge and so on that happens in the use of language, thank you for doing that. I also have really come to appreciate, as I finished reading the other discussions on the roles of women in your family. Many of us have many beautiful women role models, mentors, caretakers, providers, nurturers in our family who are women, from aunties to big cousins to big sisters to moms to grandmas. Unbelievable stories about the roles of women in your family. So thank you for sharing all of that. I am also very delighted to acknowledge the amount of eye-opening kinds of statements that you've made in your reflections, but also in your discussions about your experience in this course, about, of course, doing the self-learning. The self-directed learning can be a challenge for some people, and not always the easiest to complete, for sure, because you have to be disciplined to do your own thing, read the articles. I'm not holding your hand while you're reading it. I might share a video or some videos that allow for other explanation of something similar to what you're reading, so maybe it absorbs for you better by looking at some of those other videos. Or if you're listening to me or any of the other guest speakers that we might have, I think it's actually quite amazing to hear how your eyes have been opened. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that as an Anishinaabe woman. I appreciate it listening to it as an instructor, that, you know, the readings, the points that are shared with you are meaningful for you. So thank you for that. But definitely to talk about, you know, that one reading in week 9 that talked about dreams and prophets. You know, dreaming is something that I know in my family, my dad always spoke about the importance of being blessed to recall messages that you receive in your dreams. He talked about just before dawn, you know, the messages that might come at that time in your dreams are oftentimes messages that we need to listen to, that we need to maybe dig further into. And I know that through our worldview philosophy, and many of you have heard this in your readings that you've done, but also in the visits that we've done, about how everything is connected, that we aren't alone, that there is a very specific connection that has happened, that is happening, that is believed to exist between the natural world and our world as human beings. Connection to our natural environment around us, that there are Mino or spirits around us all the time. Spirit of the plant life that might be around you, the spirit of animals that might be around you. Just, you know, the spirit of your ancestors, if you really believe in and call upon those loved ones that have gone on before you to help you, to be with you, to support you, you understand that statement. So I think, you know, when we look at our Anishinaabe worldview perspective through story, ceremony, and tradition, it emphasizes the importance of reciprocal social relationships that extend the notion of kin far beyond our biological relatives. And that notion of kin is that connection, that Anishinaabe people and the natural world around them are connected. Vision is something, or dreams, vision quest, are something that our people emulate through seeking dreams at puberty that would direct them to look towards the future. So for our young men, a vision quest, you know, and so for our young women, you got to hear Michaela talk about her puberty rites celebration, where she was acknowledged with, you know, her community, her immediate family, her aunties, her big sisters, big cousins, grandmas. And then when she broke her fast, her uncles, her grandpa, her dad, you know, all the men in her life, important men, brothers, you know, so that ceremony, that rites of passage that we have. So for our young men, it's a vision quest. I remember my brothers, my mom, connecting them to uncles who would then take them out on the land and put them there for 4 days. And what they did was they were told about the importance of prayer and the importance of seeking guidance and the importance of making offerings and intentions, to have that dream or that vision come to them that would then help guide them for, you know, their life. It would give them their sense of purpose. And that all of that would be connected to what we call that good life, Mino bimaadiziwin. It involves not only, you know, the behaviors or the life that we take day to day, but it's a commitment to everything around us, and the reciprocity that happens with everything around us. That if I take care of my environment's going to take care of me, and that's everything. That's from animal life to our literally our environmental life, to our human life around us. You know, so thinking about that, thinking about Michaela's video, and I know what she talked about, and you'll see that post right after this. She's talking about that, everything that makes what you believe those words to be, the good life, everything that is, even the hard times, are a part of that. Creator did not bring us into an existence with a predetermined creation, but rather entrusted all beings with not only purpose, but also free will. And those who shared their gifts or blessings did so out of free will on the same basis that they could also withhold them. So I remember attending a beautiful teaching opportunity. We were in ceremony, and the uncle that was sharing some lessons about a really hard time that a family was going through, he talked about that gift of free will. And that is the one thing that Creator gave to us that is ours alone. Nobody and nothing can determine our free will except us. And I really appreciated the hard time that family who was going through that experience, the lesson that grandpa who was helping them, he was a medicine man, who was helping them get through that hard experience. That's what he talked about. And it was a way of helping that family understand someone's choice, and that someone's choice had caused lots of pain, but to remember that Creator gave the beauty of that gift, the gift of free will. And there are going to be times in life when times are hard and we don't have any answers, we don't have any understanding about why something might be going on, other than we have to walk through and face those hard times. So I know that when I think about my children and we were looking to do things as best we could as parents, young parents, because Brad and I were young when we had our children. We were curious about the ability to have our grandma relative over here in the province of Ontario, this was while we were living in Alberta, come and be present with us about the time that Cassidy needed her naming ceremony, that we were going to celebrate her welcoming ceremony. Same with Michaela, her naming ceremony, her welcoming ceremony, and just really trying to think of how do we incorporate, what we hope for our children. How do we incorporate that? And I think I told you the story about Grandma Lillian and some of the things that she had said, when we invited her out to Alberta from Ontario to come and be a part of Cassidy and Michaela's, our family and those ceremonies that we needed to do. When somebody asked me, how does somebody have a naming ceremony? Like, what do they do? Most oftentimes, as I've been taught by the helpers that have been connected to my family, is they pray. They pray and they go into that vision-seeking mode through their prayer, through their intentions, through their thoughts, and seek the universe's help in making some identification of Anishinaabe-Nozwin, a spirit name. And so dreaming about that name might happen. Thoughts might come to somebody while they're thinking about that person. And so that form of vision, that form of dreaming, that form of bringing from a spiritual realm to today's world is how our people do that. And so I know in my family, naming ceremonies that did happen, those kinds of seeking spiritual dreams, spiritual visions were how it was practiced. And along with that name came responsibilities. The Grandma Lillian dreamt about my Cassidy's name, Tikamish young oak woman. And as she shared with Cassidy the dream that she had, she shared about when you look at an oak tree, a lot of times oak trees stand alone. They stand by themselves. They are also one of the hardest woods here in our area. They're a hardwood. So they're strong, they're independent, they stand alone, but they can also be a part of a sense of community. They are relied upon for their strength. And, when Grandma Lillian was talking to my daughter as she transferred that name to her, Tikkamishkwes, she shared all those teachings with Cassidy. Cassidy was like, I think maybe 19 months old, something like that, when she went through this ceremony. Cassidy would not have understood those words as Grandma Lillian said them to her. Brad and I, as parents, had the responsibility of remembering the teachings. And then all of our community that was a part of that whole ceremony also had the responsibility of helping to teach Cassidy about that time. So about her responsibilities, about the characteristics of her name, about the nature of her name. And, we didn't literally sit down with her every year at her birthday and say, hey, you're going to be strong. You're going to be independent. You are going to be, someone that people can rely on, and you're going to bring warmth to people's lives. Like, we didn't tell her that, but by virtue of the action and how we raised her, that was how she learned about Tikkamishkwes and the responsibility that she would naturally take on. And in her teenage years, for real guys, in her teenage years, Cassidy actually, that is literally what she did. She ended up being someone that would speak for those less fortunate or those more vulnerable or in vulnerable situations. She would befriend people maybe who felt like they didn't have anybody in a circle to be a friend with. There were many times that she was alone too. And so really and truly, I think it was rather amazing that Grandma Lillian was able to determine Cassidy's name, shared it with us in ceremony, and Cassidy, who is now a 32-year-old woman, is no longer Tikkamishkwes, which is like a little girl in our language. She grew and got mature and then became Tikkamishkwes, Kwezes, Kwes, and then Kwe. So again, looking at our beautiful language, each of those different roles or stages of development for her, she would learn and have a little bit more responsibility and become a little bit more mature. And so now as a woman, she's actually Tikkamishkwe, young oak woman. And very much a strong, independent woman, somebody who's had to face, different battles and different struggles and different hardships, while at the same time embracing the beauty of where she comes from, who she is, the strong lineage of movers and shakers that she comes from. My mom, my dad, her grandmas, her grandpas, just absolutely amazing to me. So I know that those dreams and those visions, the belief that we have behind them and our helpers who help bring that to reality, the sense of belief that's behind it, for us is, what we've been talking about all this semester, our Ansel Kanak, our spirit stories, our Adziwin, Anishinaabe Adziwin, our way of knowing and doing, our way of believing, our way of understanding. And then our Kindaswin, how do we share that knowledge, the knowledge transfer that happens? So the knowledge transfer for you, as you watch the videos, as you listen to me, as you read the readings, as you listen to Michaela, as you listen to your own relatives, as I get you to share those stories and reflections, how does the material that you're learning about, how does it connect to you? It's happening because you are sharing that freely with me. Well, you kind of have to. It's not freely. It's one of the expectations of this course. It's your reflection. So I absolutely love that. The next reading that you got to read and is connected to what I just finished talking about is about Shkatagan. So some of you may be familiar with what Shkatagan is, especially if you've gone out for rides in the bush or, have gone camping and you see on the side of a tree, a little bit up high, not exactly close to the ground, a little bit up high, but you'll see like a knob of what looks like a fungus, like a mushroom kind of growth off of a tree, usually a birch tree, actually. Anyway, it's called shkatagan. That's what we call it in our language. That shkatagan actually has a very special, specific purpose. Some people also call it chaga. That's another name that I've heard called of it. It's got medicinal properties in it. You can make chaga tea. You can use that shkatagan like the way that it's talked about in the reading that we have is it's talked about how it has properties to hold heat. Even the tiniest piece of shkatagan can hold that shkures, that spark of fire. And so as you read through that reading, talks about us, the Potawatomi people, because I am Potawatomi, or Bodawatomi, as it mentions in I think the first page or second page. I really like the videos that I shared with you in that week of that reading. Very quick, minute long, 2 minutes long, as the story talks about the 7 fire prophecies and how this shkatagan is actually connected to what we call the 7th fire. A beautiful understanding of a time that we are currently in. So when you go and look at, the first fire prophecy, the second fire prophecy, the third fire prophecy, it actually tells the story of us as Anishinaabe people and all the different things that have happened in our life in history up to this time. And currently, there are many of us who believe that we are in our 7th fire. Our 7th fire, just like in a reading, at the beginning of the course, he talked about how our Anishinaabe people, dropped things along the way. Our language, our cultural teachings, some of our ceremonies around rituals, customs, and traditions, because of some of those interruptions that our people had to go through, from residential school to the 60s scoop to missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls to the numerous illness epidemics that including the most recent one, COVID. And because of all those interruptions, all the different things that fell to the wayside or got dropped on the path because of assimilation practices, cultural genocide, legislation that was enacted to literally kill the Indian in the child. And so the beauty of the people that didn't let go of all of that knowledge, that hid that knowledge so that our people could pick it up again. My family was a part of that. I remember my mom and dad, our curtains would be drawn in our house in the early 70s, and we would have ceremony in our house when we weren't supposed to be doing that kind of stuff. So absolutely, amazing to me when I think about my whole life and I think about the blessings of what my mom and dad were able to keep for us as a family, in spite of the interruption in their life of child welfare and residential school. So when I think about, the shkatagan, the importance of that part of our relative that comes from the natural world, the plant life, that chaga, and how it can hold that fire. That's like the symbolic piece that I'm trying to get to, is that we use that shkatagan to talk about us people who are now picking up, who held on to and can make sure that fire remains lit, that 7th fire. And there's another word in our language, wewene. Wewene, in our reading, it actually talks about in good time, when everything that's meant to come together comes together. In good time, that's when it's meant to be. That's when it's meant to happen. And there's absolutely no way to shortcut around it, fast track it, make it happen now. When it is meant to be, it will happen. Another word in our language, Mino, so be it, let it be. there's so many different beautiful words, and so I know we introduced that to you a few weeks ago, but there's absolutely so many opportunities for our beautiful words to confirm some of the things that we're trying to learn about in this good way of life, following Mino, bimaadiziwin, finding out what the good life is for us. How do we live it? How do we embrace it? And so on. So I've got a little blurb here I want to read out of this reading. The people of the seventh fire do not yet walk forward. Rather, they are told to turn around and retrace the steps of the ones who brought us here. Their sacred purpose is to walk back along the red road of our ancestors' path and to gather up all the fragments that lay scattered along the trail. Fragments of land, tatters of language, bits of songs, stories, sacred teachings, all that was dropped along the way. Our elders say that we will live in a time of the seventh fire. We are the ones the ancestors spoke of, the ones who will bend to the task of putting things back together to rekindle the flames of the sacred fire, to begin the rebirth of a nation. The people of the seventh fire walk among us. I absolutely love that teaching, and it's actually also mentioned and talked about in our Mishomas book that is written by Eddie Benton Beneba. It's a leading way into what we call lighting the eighth fire. And in our reading, the seventh fire prophecy presents a second vision for the time that is also upon us. And it tells that all people of the earth will see a path ahead that is divided, and it'll be up to them to make a choice. So when you look at today's world and what's going on, between Canada, the US, and other parts of our world, I really see the stories of my people, the prophecies of my people. I see how we're able to take those and make them fit for today. And certainly, I believe people like me, people like you, if this speaks to you or if it touches you, those of us who want to see, a better world, a happier world, a more peaceful world, we're those people in that seventh fire, carrying that shkatagan, carrying that light that is going to help make that happen. Because we care about our natural environment. We care about our natural laws, taking care of the earth, taking care of the water, taking care of the animals, the endangered species, and all of those good things that are happening around the world. All of that, my students, is connected to our worldview philosophy, which is this week's reading. And so I really hope, and I'm glad that we put it together the way that we did in the course, all of the readings. I really hope that you are seeing it come around full circle. I know Michaela talks about this week when we were doing some of our teaching in the schools, we talked about some of the full circle moments that, the aha moments or the epiphanies that people have when something comes around full circle and you're like, oh man, like I'm actually seeing the purpose in this, the validity of this, why it might have happened or went down this way. That is all a part of our worldview philosophy as Anishinaabe people. And really and truly, it brings about what we call the good life. Understanding all of that. The last bit of knowledge that I wish to share with you from an Indigenous perspective for this week in this video is something that I shared with my children not too long ago. It was something that was shared with me all of my adult life. And it really is a teaching that every once in a while, when I might be going through a hard time, and I might be in my humanness forgetting about some of these teachings because I'm, in the moment I'm sad, or in the moment I am angry, or in the moment I'm frustrated or overwhelmed, and because whatever it is that I might be faced with isn't exactly my favorite thing. And anyway, we were taking part in in a social gathering, and my circle close to me is very small. It's actually very, very small circle. It's my immediate family. I have a couple of, good friends and close friends, but I do protect who I am, and do not always risk being vulnerable out there because, in my humanness, I have been hurt, just like many of us have been hurt. Many of us have had that experience of knowing pain. And so I keep my circle small because I don't want, to give anybody ammunition to hurt me any more or any further or any deeper. Anyway, somebody in my circle was sad, and I talked about our belief. One of the beliefs that we have is that when we are in the spirit world, before we come here, we have visits with creation. We have visits with Creator, and we are presented with what this life could look like. And when we are ready, we choose to go to the family that we choose to go to. We choose our parents. And in doing that, in having that selection, we are literally shown what that life is going to be about, what that life is going to be like. We are shown everything. The hard times, the good times, the challenging times, the sad times, the surprising times, the rewarding times. We're shown everything that life is going to be. And then we still choose to come. So in that moment, when we're feeling overwhelmed and we're feeling burdened or we're feeling hurt, angry, and this is what I was sharing with that member in my circle. We have to remember that, in spite of all this, our little spirit knew that this was a good choice, and we made the choice. That free will, that gift that Creator gave us, we made the choice to come. So with that, I want to leave all of you for this week in this, I think this is probably my second last video with you this semester. I wanted to bring all those videos together for the last 3 readings together today, because there's just no way to separate it all. It's really challenging to do that. In the spring semester, I'm actually going to be teaching this course, and guys, I'm doing it in a month. It is condensed to a month, and I'm racking my brain right now trying to think, how am I going to share with the people that have signed up for my course? It'll be online again. So if you have anybody or know anybody that, needs to take an elective and wants to do a summer course or spring course, mine is available online. And so it'll be, of course, a series of recordings and so on. But really and truly trying to figure out the best way to get the message about who we are as Indigenous people to our learners, to the ones that, are interested in finding out more information. And maybe, just maybe, to help build their knowledge base, however they might be working with Indigenous people, whether it's through the computer science program that they're going to graduate from, or a leadership certificate that they're going to grab, or a social work. Maybe they're going to be a social worker, or maybe they're going to be a teacher and they're building and taking, going to earn their science degree. Whatever it happens to be, it is my hope and the hope of our team that builds these courses for you in helping you to understand Anishinaabe people, Anishinaabe-Adziwin, our stories, our Onselkanak, our spirit stories, our Kindaswin, our knowledge, that we hope to share with you, so that you walk away with a little bit more understanding, a little bit more knowledge, and above all, for me in particular, above all, that you really are able to reflect and take some of that knowledge and see how it fits for you in your worldview perspective. So it's been a good one for me today because I really appreciate how we can wrap everything that we've talked about so far, wrap it up in understanding Anishinaabe worldview perspective. So Miigwech for listening. I know that some of you will be breaking your fast this weekend as Ramadan comes to a close. Please know that we extend all blessings to you as you do that. What a beautiful ceremony. And so the best to you. To my other students who might be celebrating and practicing Lent, know that, you know, the importance of sacrifice and discipline is a good quality. And so we send you our best as you continue to work through that. The time is coming very soon for great celebrations in that spiritual practice as well. So have a great weekend, everybody. I know here in Sault Ste. Marie, we're expecting some kind of crazy ice storm. My family and I are heading to a powwow tomorrow. Stay tuned for the second reflection, which is the last reflection. Going to be releasing it, and actually I'll just give you a heads up here. I think I already put it in the email too. I actually will be asking you to talk about what does Mino bimaadiziwin mean to me? What does the good life mean to me? And so you're going to talk about what does that mean to you, based on the videos, you know, the last couple of weeks, the stories that you've read, the readings that you've read or listened to. And then the final discussion question will also be released. But I'm not going to... I was going to release it this week, but I think I'm going to wait till next week because it actually is just connected to the end of the course in terms of where you're going to go from here. So I'm going to wait till next week for the discussion question. I will release the second reflection and then your personal creative story, personal creative assignment, which is your final assignment. We don't have an exam in this class. I've had a couple of you email and ask me that again. I've said it. It's been posted. I'm going to say it again. There is no final exam in Anishinaabe Studies 1006 with Liz as the professor. So your final is your personal creation, personal creative story. So I'll let you know. That's not due until the third week, I think April 22nd. It's not due till then. So you'll be able to hand it in sooner if you wish to do that. But your personal creative story, you know, that's up to you. It could be a poem, it could be a story, it could be a paper, because some people just like to write papers. Last semester I had people send me beautiful artwork and then they explained their artwork. I had people write poetry. I had people literally make a story up and tell that story. If you want to do a video and send me a video clip, you can do that too. You can upload it to YouTube and then send me the YouTube link in an email. That works. That's how I communicate with some of our students. So anyway, that'll be posted and then you can take it and run with it. So again, have yourselves a great weekend. Thanks for listening. Mama.